Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to This Week in Magic Online Finance. I'm your host, Chaz Andres, and as always, we're going to get started with the biggest story of the week. Which, of course, this week is the fact that Ultimate Masters, the entire spoiler is out, and boy, the set looks good. There was a lot of worry that the remaining rares were just going to be crap, kind of like they always are, but there are actually quite a lot of legacy and modern staples mixed in there. You've got cards like Back to Basics and Containment Priest and Ruined Halo that badly needed a reprint. And it's worth remembering that even though there's an MSRP increase in paper Magic, there wasn't on Magic Online. So you can actually buy these packs for $6.99 each from the Magic Online store. So my initial reaction was, yes, finally, a master set that's worth opening on Magic Online, but well, pump those brakes a little bit. Saffron Olive did some back-of-the-envelope math and determined that the average pack value of a pack of Ultimate Masters on MTGO is only about 2.08 tickets a pack. That is not worth $7. Now, the good news for you is that most people aren't going to do this math. They're going to buy Ultimate Masters packs, and that's going to lower the price of the staples, and then you can swoop in and buy your sweet modern staples at a nice discount. But if you're a value-conscious Magic player, and if you're watching this video, you probably are, stay away from buying Ultimate Masters packs and drafts. It seems like a better deal than other Master sets, and it is in paper Magic, but not so on Magic Online. Let's move on now to Gaining Ground, where the card that gained the most ground this week in Standard was Star of Extinction. It jumped 5 tickets from 8 up to 13, and that is really high for a card that was a bulk mythic just a couple of weeks ago. But this has now become a sideboard staple for 2 of the best decks in Standard, Jeskai Control and Izzet Drakes. So will Star of Extinction continue to gain value? Well, it's very possible. See, it's a mythic from Ixalan, and cards from Ixalan block have higher upside than cards from Guilds of Ravnica because fewer cards were opened and it happened a longer time ago. On the other hand, this Standard format has been more of a revolving door than literally any Standard format I can remember, and what that means is that Star of Extinction could go from sideboard superstar to format afterthought at literally any point. So even though there's still some upside left here, I'm selling my copies into the hype just in case. Let's move on now to Modern, where Mox Opal was our biggest gainer of the week. It jumped 8 full tickets from 40 up to 48, and that is actually worth celebrating because this is the first major Modern gainer on MTGO since the big fall crash, and that's really nice to see for the future of the format. Modern's demise on MTGO has been greatly exaggerated, and Mox Opal wasn't alone. I started to see some big gains from cards like Horizon Canopy, and Scalding Tarn, and Verdant Catacombs, and Collective Brutality, basically a lot of the significant Modern cards that aren't in Ultimate Masters. So these cards haven't yet even come close to regaining the value they lost this fall, but they are starting to tick up again. So assuming things go the way I think they will, you've got a window to buy in, but that window is starting to close a little bit. Let's move on to our biggest loser, where in Standard, it was a repeat offender this week. It was once again Rekindling Phoenix, which dropped another 4 tickets from 22 down to 18. And as we discussed last week, this is due to a couple of factors. Number 1, Jeskai Control no longer really runs this card in a lot of its sideboards. And number 2, decks like Mono Red Aggro and Boros Angels are losing metagame share to other decks like Izzet Drakes. This tells me that Rekindling Phoenix still has more value to give over the short term. That said, this card is still very powerful, and I see no reason why it won't come roaring back at some point in the future. So I would monitor this one until it hits its floor, which I don't think it's found yet, and then consider buying back in. Let's move on now to Modern, where the impact of Ultimate Masters is not just being felt in the win column, but in the loss column as well. And that's because our biggest loser this week is Engineered Explosives, which dropped another 5 tickets this week from 21 down to 16. And that is a pretty stunning drop for a card that was 60 tickets earlier this year. But between the market crash in the fall and the impending reprint, this card is now worth less than a third of what it was back in the spring. So unlike Rekindling Phoenix, I don't think a major rebound for Engineered Explosives is in the cards, at least not anytime soon. See, it's very good in Modern, but it's basically just a sideboard card it's rarely a 4 of, and it was expensive mostly because it was only printed twice in 2 small sets, 5th Dawn and the first Modern Masters. That was a tiny supply, and that supply is about to increase by a pretty major way thanks to it being reprinted at rare in Ultimate Masters. In fact, depending on how many packs are open, I could see this one dropping below the 10 ticket mark, so I'm still staying away here. Now, this week's sneak is Days, a card that was 20 tickets earlier this year and dipped down to a low of 8 tickets back at the beginning of November. It's back up to 12 now and continuing to rise. This one, quite frankly, is a bit of a no-brainer. Both Legacy and Pauper are about to become a lot more popular on Magic Online and a lot more tournamentally relevant, and this card is a staple in both formats. It's going to hit 20 tickets again at some point in 2019, so make sure you buy your copies now. As always, we're going to end the week by taking a look at the MTGO Traders sales data over the past 7 days, and this gives us a picture of which cards are selling the best right now, regardless of price increases or decreases. Looking at overall sales by volume, there still hasn't been much change over the past couple of weeks. The top of this list is still a combination of multi-format commons like Lightning Bolt and standard rares like Steam Vent and Assassin's Trophy and Experimental Frenzy. There was one card near the top of this list that stood out to me though, which is Blinkmoth Nexus. That card was actually just fractions of a ticket earlier this week, and now it is up to 2.2 tickets and rising, and there's reason to think it might not be done yet. The card has actually been as high as 3 or 4 tickets multiple times in 2018, and it's a key rare in Hardened Scales Affinity. So clearly there was a run on this card this week, and I expect gains to continue. Moving on to best-selling cards by price, there also wasn't much of a change from last week. The number 1 and number 2 cards are still Arclight Phoenix and Teferi in that order, which makes sense because Standard is still the most popular format, and those are the 2 most important cards in it. The number 3 card, however, is worth highlighting in depth. It's Surgical Extraction, and Surgical Extraction has actually been the 3rd best-selling card in MTGO for a couple of weeks now, but the price hasn't moved at all. I think that's going to change. For one, Surgical Extraction is not in Ultimate Masters. For another, the paper price actually jumped $10 this week. That tells me that a rise on MTGO may be imminent. So, if you've been holding off on buying Surgical Extraction for your collection, I'd make that move soon. And that's all I got for you this week. Thank you so much for joining me. If you liked the video, please do hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. I'm Chaz Andres. I will see you next Monday morning for another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance.
Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more awesome MTG content just like this. And make sure to tap the bell icon to be notified whenever a video is made live. If you want to keep watching content, here are 2 more videos for you. This video and many others are sponsored by MTGO Traders and Cape Fear Games. Buy and sell digital singles to build your online collection today with MTGO Traders, and get your paper singles, accessories, and much more from Cape Fear Games. Whatever your Magic needs, both places have you covered.